What's up, everybody? Bandit and Chad here with another project here in my garage. So behind us we do have a 2002 4Runner that belongs to one of our buddies in the off-road club, and it doesn't have any kind of locker in it other than the center locker. That's right?
Yeah. This is a 2002 Toyota 4Runner four-wheel drive, but it does not have a rear locker. That was an option that you could get, and at that time I believe you couldn't actually get a locker on any of the 4Runners. It just wasn't an option because there is a traction control system that would prohibit that.
Right, so as we mentioned, there is a center locker, but we have taken this off-road a couple of times, and we think it would greatly benefit from a rear locker. So we did get this axle set up that you may be able to see there to the side, and we are cleaning that up. That did come off of an earlier 4Runner that did have the locking axle set up, and we will be swapping that into this 4Runner as you see behind us. As you can see, I am in my mechanic garb, and I am wearing a Toyota hat, and we have read a little bit on the forums, so we are trained technicians as of right now. So here's a look at the axle that we'll be swapping into the 4Runner. And as you can see here, around this axle housing, there are some notches cut out. And the reason for those notches is for the e-locker motor. A standard rear axle and the housing here would just be round if it is not equipped with an e-locker from the factory. Now you could just make some cuts in your standard housing. However, if you can get your hands on one of these, it will make your job a whole lot easier. Here's a look at the locker, and as you can see, it's just very similar to what is found in a lot of Tacomas or anything else. But you'll have your plug-ins here, and then it's basically a small little motor that will rotate out and lock both sides of the axle together, allowing both wheels to turn in unison, which will get you out of some sticky situations, whether you're in ice or mud or the like. So the first step here really is to drop this old axle housing and axle out so we can go ahead and start connecting the new axle housing. So the first steps are going to be to obviously remove your brake lines, remove the shocks, and remove your sway bars and everything like that, and just to leave them essentially hanging on the vehicle. Then once you get everything back in place with the new axle housing, it should just be basically a plug-and-play type system. They are the same size. They did come out of more or less the same type of vehicle, so it shouldn't be too difficult of a process, but you definitely want to make sure you're labeling and getting everything right. You definitely want to read up on all this stuff before you do it, but like I said, it should be a fairly straightforward process. So one of the more difficult parts that we found so far with extracting all of the necessary hardware to drop your axle here is getting this ABS sensor off. So we weren't exactly sure how to remove it, so we did practice here on this spare housing, because as you can see, the sensor wires are cut, so we're not going to be using them anyhow. But here's basically how we did it. So they are a 10 millimeter bolt, so we're going to go ahead and loosen those up. You get the bolt just loose. So you do want to keep it just slightly in the hole. And then what we found was the easiest is to wedge a screwdriver under here to get it started. And then once you can kind of work around the sensor and pry it up a little bit, and you're getting the tip of the screwdriver completely under here, you can go ahead and remove the bolt. And then with a small little pry bar, crowbar, whatever you have, you're going to tap that under the other way. And then simply press down, and it comes straight out. So here's what the end of that sensor looks like. It is just rounded, and it is just pressed directly into the hole. So you shouldn't have to screw it or anything like that. And then it'll leave this bare hole right behind.
So as you can see, we have the ABS sensors and brake lines all taken apart and put in the Ziploc bags to keep all the fluid in there. And next we're going to be disconnecting the shocks and the trailing arms, and then we're going to drop the axle. Maybe I shouldn't have my leg on the axle. Just in case.
Oh, it'll only cut you in half once.
That would break my femur.
It's not bad.
Alright.
Lay down slowly.
Wait. Let's pull some of these out since it is straight for right now. Alright, let it down real slow. We're going to try to balance it on these. Whoa, that's not slow.
Come on, stop. Let's check lines.
I think everything's loose.
I think we're clear. I don't know how much that jack's actually doing right now.
Hold on.
So now that we have the axle completely removed here from the 4Runner, we are going to go ahead and drain the diff fluid that's in here and remove these 4 bolts that are located around the drums, and then that'll pull the drums and the axle shafts from the axle.
do it quick.
Oh,
That's pretty clean.
That's
Very
clean.
surprised.
We might want to turn it.
Very, very surprised.
Pop this one off.
That blue there.
Yeah.
That one's
That's pretty, actually.
That's clean.
You hold that?
Just gonna say you could have used that in time.
With your newfangled fancy tools. That's good.
There it goes.
That's really not that dirty at all. Oh, there's some stuff coming out of it now.
Yep.
Oh,
that's
wow.
water.
So here's the drain plug out of the bottom of the diff, and as you can see, it is magnetic, and it catches all of your shavings that would come between your gears and everything else. So it is a good idea to replace this fluid frequently and to inspect all of that fairly often.
And peeing. All over the floor. But on your back.
So yeah, where are we taking this thing tomorrow?
Alright, so we do have the axle that came on the 4Runner completely out of the way here, and we have been working on the one that we plan on putting in its place. So we did spray it down with brake cleaner and kind of brush it down the best we could, and we did put one layer so far of the POR 15 on it, which is sort of a rust preventative, and it should preserve the axle the best we can. So we're going to wait till this dries a little bit more, put one more layer on, and it is about midnight here, so we'll probably get to bed before too long and start again in the morning. So we're starting out here the next morning, and we do have reinforcements, and what we ended up painting last night did turn out really well. So we're going to go ahead and replace these axle seals. We already got them out. We're just going to pound these back in. We're going to use two different sizes of mallets, one to kind of put it on there because this does fit the seal pretty well, and then pound it with the other mallet to get it seated. We did that with the other side. It seems to go pretty smoothly, so we'll go ahead and do that now.
So as you can see, we did replace the factory studs with bolts, and now we're putting a gasket maker on there, and we're using a, is it ultra black? Is that what it is? Yeah, we're using black, and really you can use that or gray, and then we're going to be applying a liberal amount of it on, and then dropping the locker in.
I wasn't.
Brush them off. You ever pinched in? You that's the can?
Yep.
Alright, you can just got it.
You gotta pull it back a little bit. There you go. Okay.
All the way through. Get ready for
We're
this.
past the seal.
Yeah, just don't bump it. Try to drag it too much. So you can drop it.
You gotta drop it.
Alright, pick it up. Oh, you know what I'm gonna start doing? Fluids.
I was gonna say you can do that, and I can start on drive shaft.
Oh yeah, drive shaft.
I can't tell if this is going in or not. That's a no.
Password. We're clear of it.
There.
What do you think of that?
Looks pretty good.
I think so. And this is unloaded too, right? There's not a whole lot in there. Good deal. Cool. I think that looks pretty nice. No lights? No lights?
Yeah, maybe that's like.
Alright, so as you can see, we do have the 4Runner completely out of the garage, and at least from our preliminary test, everything looks all right. So we are going to take a quick lap around the block, make sure everything's all right, and we'll close out here in a minute.
Brakes are dragging.
Are you sure?
Either.
Might be
Hold on.
might be some brake fluid on them.
Brakes really good. There it has been.